All right, folks, I am finally back in the studio to do some home free. I have had these queued up since last month, first week of May. Just wasn't able to get to it. We're now in June. This is going to be the home free episode for this week. And I'm thinking about putting an edited, sampler version of this on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, then obviously I did. And you can go check out the full reaction on Patreon, or you can wait and eventually these reactions will find their way in single form as much as we can get on there over the course of the next month or two. We've just been having a hard time doing any reaction videos really, and there's been some changes with YouTube, how they flag copyrighted content that we've been having to work around. I've actually got a video I did on this, some of the behind the scenes YouTube changes that's really making it hard for us to get some reaction videos up. Not anything to do with home free and any of the artists really, but just some of the algorithmic changes, and that video may be out by the time this comes out. Anyway, whole big thing. Today's episode, we are checking out their cover of Phil Collins' You'll Be in My Heart from Tarzan. Statler Brothers Elizabeth featuring Jimmy Fortune, closing out with their cover of Percy Sledge's When a Man Loves a Woman, which is one of the greatest songs of all time in my opinion. And we're kicking it off with one of their newer songs. This is their cover of Jelly Roll's I Am Not Okay. Let's jump into it. But first, like, subscribe, comment, click the bell for notifications. Consider supporting us on Patreon for exclusive perks. It's really cheap. And subscribe to Words Like That Arts and Media Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. All right, now shut up and get to it.
Can't have no words like that. Words like that. No, no,
no. Okay, they're pulling some comments from the actual song. Okay, cool.
I'm barely getting by. God knows I know when it's all said and done.
So this was really interesting. When it started off really low-key harmony. It was very haunting, which I felt like was appropriate for the song, and you could really hear how it tied into the original version of this. But then they had the ooze there, but then they brought it up, full band sound with the kit, the bass. Really, really nice differentiation between two sections of the song.
I'm not okay, but it's all gonna be alright. I know I
Nice fade out there on the kit. Okay, they brought it back down. Badstein's really sounding good on this track. This may be my favorite performance that I've heard from him. Personal preference. Really, really good tone. I like where he's at here with his vocals on this particular track. There are harmony portions where they drop out with the beatbox and the bass and just go straight a cappella. It reminds me a lot of Fun, the band Fun. What was the name of that track that they had that kind of effect there? Some Nights is what it reminds me of. Yeah, Fun, Some Nights.
who's holding on for you.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Thank y'all so much for watching our music
yeah.
video for our cover of I Am Not Okay. Such a powerful song by Jelly Roll. We wanted to put our spin on it and release it in conjunction with Mental Health Awareness Month. We're all big believers in
Gotcha. Yeah, that was great. I wasn't familiar with this song going in. I think I had heard the title, and I've heard some Jelly Roll songs, but it's not really my genre, not really my wheelhouse. So I went and checked this out before I listened to this in preparation, and the song, obviously you can tell why Home Free chose the song because of the lyrical content, the message, and the arrangement they did on this. Really, really good. Again, it starts out with just the straight acapella, which I know all of this is acapella, but I mean, there's no emulation of instrumentation on here, no beatbox and no bass, just the straight vocals, the choir effect, and they had some the vocal ooze going on, giving it a really haunting quality. I love that. Again, the vocals reminded me a lot of Some Nights by Fun, which has some great harmony stuff on that track. And then with the chorus, they bring up the instrumentation with the beatbox and the bass, Bastein taking the lead. Then you had Rob on the second verse. they dropped the instrumentation out toward the end of the song and went back into just the harmony again. Really accentuates the lyrics the way they dropped out there. And then they brought it home. Great arrangement all the way around. Everybody sounded great. Bastine obviously had a big part on this song. And as I said earlier, I feel like that this is my favorite performance I've heard of him. Personal preference, the tone of his voice on this one, his delivery, really, really great stuff all the way around on this one. Up next, this is You'll Be in My Heart. This is a Phil Collins song. It's from Tarzan, and not a huge fan of this track. Not really a huge fan of that movie, but I also grew up on the original 1930s and 40s Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan. So whenever the cartoon came out, I was like, but actually rewatched it, or my kids rewatched it the other day, and I was kind of in and out. I was like, this isn't that bad. I think I just had sour grapes in my mouth because it was not the Tarzan I grew up with. But anyway, so let's see what Home Free does with this one. This is one that wouldn't necessarily be something I think, Home Free ought to do You'll Be in My Heart, Phil Collins, Tarzan, right? Not somewhere my mind would go, but I know they're going to do a great job. They always do. Let's hit it.
Can't stop you crying.
Okay, Chance. Taking the lead here. Man, sounds great. Yeah, I love him singing this tenor range too, just coming out the gate. And Bastine taking the chorus. Visually, I like that the curtain color coding, that whoever's got the lead has the gold curtain behind them, and the rest of the group has the maroon. And then when there was a bit of a drum solo there, which Phil Collins, known for his drum solos, they intercut like that was the lead in that moment. Really, really nice visual cue there. Man, I wasn't even paying attention. Tim's bass on this, he's just killing it. He's got it's like a hybrid of the bass guitar emulation, but also like a bass vocal harmony. Really, really interesting choice there from Tim on what he's doing for the bass line on this. Nice falsetto there. Great drums there from Adam, quote unquote drums. I always say that. I start talking about it like it's an actual kit because he sounds so much like an actual kit. I forgot, not thinking about it being beatbox, even intellectually, I know. Yeah, that was a great arrangement. Again, that's not really my jam. not a huge fan of the song, but Home Free, they know how to take a song. They know how to make it their own. They know how to execute well, do a great version of it. Again, the video, I thought it was really good visually what they were doing with the color coding of the curtains. Although I got a little lost, so they started kind of changing patterns. And I think I missed when they actually started doing that. So I'm not sure what they were trying to represent with that. The beatboxing from Adam Rupp, as always, was just fantastic. I mentioned Tim. What he was doing with the bass there, it was like a hybrid guitar emulation, but also like more of a bass vocal thing to me. And that's something really interesting and different that I'm not used to hearing from him. Great job. Rob and Bastine obviously actually Chance started the thing out, which was great because he started out in his tenor range. Usually when you would get Chance kicking something off, it's usually in the bass range. I'm thinking that's generally the case with him, but he started out in the tenor range. His voice sounded great. Bastine had a lot of parts in this song. Rob has some great parts. Just great stuff all the way around, even though I'm not a huge fan of the song. It's not my cup of tea. They did an excellent job. All right, up next, this is a cover of the Statler Brothers' Elizabeth featuring Jimmy Fortune, who was in the group. He wrote the song. This is one I knew vaguely of. I don't know if I've ever even actually listened to the song. I know a little bit of Statler Brothers. So I went and listened to this before I checked this out just to get a feel for the original. Here we go.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Nice. Yeah, Yeah, it was a great opening. Easy, no instrumentation, emulation. Jimmy is obviously the star of this piece, which I wasn't necessarily expecting that. I didn't know if he was going to be the star. He was just going to be doing, some parts here and there. But so far, he's had the lead this entire time, which is great. And his voice is sounding fantastic.
Warm embrace. Don't know if I can ever live my life.
Nice. It's funny with the guys. You get kind of like almost a 90s Boys to Men vibe backing him up, which is really cool, because it's not two genres, two artists that you would really think of to match up, Boys to Men and Statler Brothers. That's kind of the vibe I get in the backing vocals. This is a 6-minute cut too. I don't think the original was anywhere near that long, was it? So I wonder, maybe they'll have something at the end where they're talking to Jimmy, or talking with Jimmy while Jimmy's there. So we'll see. And this style of country is very much rooted in the Southern gospel tradition, which is what I grew up in.
I don't know if I can ever live my life.
All right, now see, unless they're going to do another round, if this is the last one, I think I would have dropped out with instrumentation right there and just went straight vocals, quote unquote, instrumentation. Okay, here they did it here. Okay, yeah, I take it back. Everything I said. It's fantastic. You're jamming that bass note. All right, hold on. Let me take that back. Well, this is what they say. I'll rewind it.
Thank y'all so much for
I'll
watching
listen to
our
that
music
again.
video.
It's been a great adventure for me over the last 7 years. It's taken me 7 years now, but it's coming out real soon, so I'm just thankful to get it done. Thank y'all.
Nice. All right, let's go back here, and I want to listen to Tim hit that bass note real quick here. But that was great. I love that at the end, and I love the fact that Jimmy Fortune was plugging his book. He's got a book and an album and a DVD coming out. That's excellent. And I love the fact that he said that he was a big fan of theirs, a dream come true for him, a big fan of theirs. And that's got to make Home Free feel great, because here is a legend of country music that is saying it's a dream of his to be able to perform with Home Free. I know that's got to make the guys feel great. All right, so let's check that out again. That end where they dropped out. I think this is it right here. Let's do it. I listen to him. Nice. That was great. Excellent. Yeah, great version of the song. Again, this wasn't one I was really familiar with. I'm pretty sure I'd heard this one at some point, because I do know some songs in that range from the Statler Brothers specifically. But they did an excellent job, and I love the fact that this was really... It was Jimmy's show. They gave him, he had the lead. It was kind of like when they did the Don McLean American Pie. I'm thinking, I can't remember if any of the rest of the guys took the lead, but I know Don had a significant part in that. And I think that's great, given the original artist basically the starring role in this, and they're just the backing band, the backing singers, and they sounded excellent. Again, I heard some Boys to Men vibes in the harmony, in the arrangement, which is not something that you would automatically pair with a Statler Brothers song, but I thought it worked well. The arrangement where you start out with no instrumentation, emulation at the beginning, and then they brought up, got a little of the drums, the beatbox, and then the bass, and then it got a little harder, built a little bit as they went on, and then they dropped out for that last repeat of the chorus there. And I thought the chorus before that was going to be their last one, and that's why I said, unless that's not the last one, I'd have dropped out right there. Well, it wasn't the last one. They had one more, and they dropped out, which was just perfect way to close it. Sounded great. And Jimmy, I feel like I didn't hear there was a lot of processing on his vocals. They sounded, I think they were fairly raw. I mean, obviously you're going to have some, EQ and effects on there, but for him to be his age and still sound that good, really, really great stuff. I probably won't be alive for that long, let alone sounding that good. But yeah, great stuff all the way around. All right, we're going to close this out with their cover of When a Man Loves a Woman by Percy Sledge. Just a phenomenal song. I've been wanting to do this one for basically since I started reacting to Home Free, and I was going to see if my producer would join me for this one, and we just never were able to get together. So I finally and now I eventually forgot about it. Now I was finally like, wait a minute, I never did When a Man Loves a Woman. Let's do this. So here we go. This is Home Free covering When a Man Loves a Woman, and I am going to make the prediction. I have no idea. Haven't looked. I'm going to make the prediction that Austin has the lead on this, and I could be totally wrong. Here we go. Yep. Nailed it. Yep. Perfect. Good Night Live, man. He's so good. You know, we just listened to, or was that all three of those? I think all three of those were actually Bastines. Yeah, there's 3 Bastines, and Bastine was great. But man, classic Austin singing in this style. Man, it doesn't get much better than this. Yeah, buddy. Key change. Nice. And also, obviously, this is another one. I don't know if this was during quarantine. It says February 2021. I don't know if they're still quarantined or not. I can't even remember that time hardly. But anyway, obviously, they're being creative how they're not together. So they just filmed Austin by himself where the rest of the guys did theirs, and they're broadcasting on the TV screens behind him. Really, really nice job. Creative job. Yeah, man, get that grit in there, boy. Man, I need to be talking here, too. I'm not going to be able to get this thing up on YouTube past YouTube's flagging system. But anyway, man, he is killing it. Good night. Oh, no, don't fade out on that. No, let's take it back. Hold on, we got to take this back. And we're going to turn it up, too. Good night alive. Wow. Look, yeah, these guys are always good, and they're good with the current lineup. Either Austin's gone, they got Bastine. They still sound really good. But there are some songs that are just another level. That's one of them. It reminded me a lot of the first songs I was checking out when I first started reacting to Home Free. First started reacting, period. Back in almost 3 years ago, 2022. And I remember there were some that were like Unchained Melody, let me think, Crazy, Mayday. Then I got into a bunch of the Christmas stuff that was really good. Like those were all top tier. That is right up there with them. That was an incredible cover. Austin sounded great. That falsetto at the end was spectacular. Good grief. That's one of my favorites that I've heard in a while from them. Again, not that everything else I've listened to hasn't been good, because it absolutely has been. That was a top tier. It had like 5 million views, and understandably so. And everybody was great in that, but it was really Austin's show, and he just absolutely slayed it. And again, they were really creative in how they did this video. Obviously, they couldn't be together, so they filmed Austin, him as the star of the show, separately performing this, and the rest of the guys filmed it, and they were broadcasted on these TV screens behind him. A very creative way to get everybody together in frame. The video looked great. He sounded great. And I forgot to mention this on the beginning of this session. We did the Jelly Roll cover. I actually saw in the comment section of that video that Jelly Roll commented on that and thanked them for doing this version, said it was great, and I thought that was really, really good of him to do that, and I know Home Free no doubt appreciated that. Anyway, yeah, When a Man Loves a Woman, absolutely incredible. Great way to close the session. I hate that it took me this long to watch this one, because it was top tier. And that's going to do it for this episode. Again, you may be watching this on YouTube, and if so, this is just like a sampler edited version. You can go check out the full thing on Patreon. And if you don't want to do that, which would be great if you did, but if you don't want to do that, I should have if not full versions of each of these songs over the course of the next month or two, I should at least have almost full versions of these songs up on YouTube next month or two, so you can stick around for those. And we will see you next time.